What's going on, everybody? It's AJ here with the Blue to Green Podcast. So, one of the things that's drawn the most attention that I've seen that I've posted is the fact about this hemp ban. And I recognized quickly that a lot of my viewers actually don't know the differences between hemp and cannabis, and that's totally okay. So I appreciate the ability to explain what all this is. Now, first and foremost, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not giving any sort of information or medical advice or anything like that. Everything that I'm about to talk about has been spoken about by a lot of other people in the last week, and I'm just regurgitating information just with my spin on it and my personal view on it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is the difference between hemp and cannabis. Hemp is the plant that you get your everything else besides weed from, okay? So your rope, your textiles, your oils, all that type of stuff can be made from hemp. There's lots of things that are made from hemp. There's all sorts of new construction materials, ecrete, insulation, all sorts of things like that. Now, on the personal skin care type stuff like that, you can use making balms and salves and all that type of stuff from the oils. You also can make CBD. Lots and lots and lots of CBD is created from just strictly the hemp plant. You can get CBD from cannabis, but that's not what you do. You get hemp because it's more cost effective. Now, what has happened? Now, hemp is classified as hemp if it is the cannabis sativa plant with less than 0.3% THC per dry weight. All right, so less than 0.3%. If it's less than 0.3% THC, it's hemp. If it's more than that, it's cannabis. Weed, marijuana, pot, whatever you want to call it, that's cannabis. Hemp is the stuff that you make things from. Cannabis is the stuff that you smoke. Now, that's just very general here. So on that note, hemp is federally, at the moment, per the 2018 Farm Bill, legal. Had a booming industry. You could ship it all across the country. You could make drinks from it, all sorts of things. Cannabis, your weed, marijuana, pot, is federally illegal. It has been federally illegal since the dawn of time, 1930s. It is federally illegal. However, states have medical marijuana programs and recreational programs. They're skirting the laws. They're just putting their thumbs up to the, they're snubbing their nose or whatever you want to call it, to the federal government, saying we're going to, our people have voted this in. We're going to follow that. So, 2018. President Trump signs the Farm Bill, creates this industry, allows for farmers to just start popping off, and industry and distributors and people who want to make things with it and make CBD and all that sorts of stuff. Creates this amazing industry, 300,000 plus workers across the country, 30 billion in revenue. You're talking a big time industry. Fast forward to 2025. Now, throughout all this time, what has happened? I did forget to mention this part. The chemists got better, and they started taking the hemp plant and converting it into other cannabinoids. Some of them psychoactive, so hemp-derived psychoactive cannabinoids, hemp-derived cannabinoids, and it's gone through a process. I don't know what that process is. I'm not a chemist. I don't know chemistry in any way, shape, or form. So that's a process that happens where things can be converted to THCA, can be converted to Delta 8, Delta 10, all sorts of other things. So with that being said, the language only talked about less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC. Okay. States throughout for the last several years have been trying to come up with their own hemp programs. How can we regulate this? It should be under the Department of Agriculture. I know Arizona has done a lot in regards to this in the past. Senator Borelli was a huge spokesperson for this. It always failed. Okay, so we've never had good regulation on hemp, particularly here in Arizona. We've never had good regulation on hemp across the country. So this big budding industry comes out. There's some loopholes that happen. People take advantage of the loopholes. And it starts getting sold in gas stations. It starts getting sold everywhere that you possibly can. I'm going to keep my personal feelings out of this for just a moment, but that's what happened. So, moving forward to 2025, the government shuts down. Okay, we can sit here and talk about the Democrats, the Republicans, healthcare, blah blah blah, whatever. Don't give a shit. It shut down, and then what happened was the federal government came back together. And so it's November 18th today, so within the last week, it came together on a bill that would reopen the government. Inside of that bill was the rider that effectively shuts down the hemp market 1 year from the date in which the bill was signed. What that did, so it was just signed a few days ago. So what that did is it changed the definition from no more than 0.3% THC by dry volume weight to now no more than 0.4 milligrams of THC per package. That's such a minuscule amount of THC. If I had this much CBD, there's going to be more, or this much hemp, there's going to be more in it just by volume. Okay, it's just going to happen. But that's why it's per dry weight volume before, which made sense. Now it's 0.4 milligrams of THC per container. Okay, so the bill is signed, the government opens back up, the hemp market is completely shut down. All intoxicating hemp products are now going to be a Schedule 1 narcotic yet again. So you created the market, you created the industry in 2018, you allowed these families to open up farms and distribution and sales and all sorts of things. And now you're going to turn 300,000+ people back into felons and criminals, shutting down an industry in a time in which this country really can't afford to have high unemployment because we're not doing too hot right now. So who was using these hemp-derived products? Well, first and foremost, anyone was allowed to buy them, with a certain age and stuff like that. But that was kind of the problem, was there's no age regulation. So it was mostly up to the smoke shops and everybody to police themselves. Veterans that held any sort of a clearance or anything like that, or anybody who holds a clearance and couldn't use cannabis, you could use hemp-derived cannabinoids for medicine, for sleep, for whatever the case may be. Anyone that likes their Second Amendment rights, you can't buy a new weapon from a gun store and fill out the ATF form 4473 and be honest if you use medical marijuana or if you use cannabis in any way, shape, or form. But if you use hemp-derived cannabinoids, you are completely within the law. We could talk about if that's a loophole or not, but whatever, but that's what you were allowed to do. I am not advocating for ever lying on that form in any way, shape, or form. So again, none of this is legal advice. That would be like the worst possible thing on the planet that you could possibly do, is lie on a federal form. Don't do that. All sorts of people use these hemp-derived products. But here's the biggest thing. It still has never killed anybody. We're regulating a goddamn plant. I could go to Costco right now and I could buy a truck bed full of alcohol and nobody's going to bat an eye. But we're now going to take all of our efforts and we're going to go after hemp. We're going back after prohibition. I got a lot of federal officers that follow me. I know that. I've got a lot of police officers that follow me. I know that. And I'm not advocating anybody to do anything. I'm just simply asking the question of, is this really what we should be spending our tax dollars on? Absolutely not. What we should, that's my opinion, what we should have done is regulated it. Not completely prohibit it, because there will be a black market now of fucking hemp. Why? Because prohibition doesn't work. Making something illegal doesn't work. Legislating morality doesn't work. I am a Christian, I am a conservative, I am a Republican, I am a PC in the Republican Party, and this was bullshit. This was stupid, this was costly, and this is completely upsetting. I'm actually not upset about the product not being allowed to be used. I'm upset for the 300,000 people that are going to lose their jobs and now be considered felons 1 year from now if they continue to do their jobs. This was not a win for conservatism. This was not a win for capitalism. Actually, this was a slap in capitalism's face. This was not a win in any way, shape, or form. My personal opinion, and it's been growing, is that it's been shown that people are drinking less and less and actually using more cannabis. So we know that the alcohol lobby was involved on this, and not the distributors, not the alcohol distributors. The alcohol distributors were the ones that were distributing the hemp-based drinks to the Target and the Bevmo and the Total Wine and all that, and they are fully on board for regulation. It's the alcohol company themselves, those lobbyists, that we know got to the lawmakers to shut down hemp. Make it make sense. It doesn't make any sense. I could not be more disappointed in the American government and of, for, by the people over this particular thing. Again, we are creating prohibition. We are criminalizing totally decent American citizens. We are taking away access to medicine for veterans, for patients. And then, oh yeah, who cares if you want to use it to recreate, because it's a fucking plant. Again, we're going after the wrong things. We should be focusing on the the narco state that's erupting in Mexico. We should be focusing on the drugs still pouring in, which I know there are law enforcement agencies that are focusing on that. But now what's going to happen, now that something has been criminalized, the federal government is going to give money to local law enforcement agencies. And sorry, guys, you know I love you, but I got to talk shit about this. Local law enforcement agencies are going to get that federal overtime money, and then they're going to go out and they're going to work specific tasks in specific task force for hemp and cannabis. And I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's wrong. It's bullshit and it's wrong. Go set up in front of school zones and catch the speeders, Frank. I love you. Go do that. Leave the hemp people alone. Just a little joke. But the fact of the matter remains is that we're criminalizing a plant. We're going to make criminals out of people, out of a market that you allowed to happen. And because you couldn't go all in on regulation, you couldn't go all in on coming together and working together to solve a problem, you just decided to prohibit it because you took the money. It's wrong. That's my take on the cannabis, on the hemp ban and how we got here. Peace.